Welcome to my channel. In this video, I will tell you about the maniac of the USSR, who killed dozens of people and kept Moscow in fear. Let's go! The Ribbon, URL greater than begins a series of publications about the most terrible maniacs of the USSR and Russia, those whose crimes made the country shudder. They have dozens of lives to their credit, which they took without pity or regret. The best operatives were on the trail of serial killers, and the hunt for maniacs sometimes lasted for many years. Our first story is about Vasily Komarov, nicknamed the Shabalovsky murderer, the first serial killer in the history of the Soviet Union. He killed 29 victims and struck fear into the hearts of Muscovites. When Komarov was caught, the townspeople wanted to lynch him, and the trial of the maniac, which took place within the walls of the Polytechnic Museum, was covered by Mikhail Bulgakov himself. Life under a degree. Vasily Komarov was born in 1877 in Vitebsk province. At birth, he received the surname Petrov, after his father Terenty. The latter was an ordinary worker on the railroad. He didn't have enough stars from the sky, but he was very fond of strong drinks. However, it was not only he who was addicted to alcohol, but also all members of his large family. The fate of many of his 12 children is unknown, but one of Vasily Komarov's brothers ended his life in penal servitude. He got there for the murder of his own boss. As you might guess, the convict committed the crime while intoxicated. Komarov himself started working early. At the age of 13 he got a job as a shepherd, and started drinking altogether at the age of 10, with everything in a row going on from moonshine to denaturation. At the same time, the future maniac was practically not ill. Nature endowed him with surprisingly good health. At the age of 16, Komarov joined the service of one of the local landowners, but he turned out to be greedy for money, and then Vasily changed his employer. However, the new youth was not satisfied either. He paid well, but he also forced him to work a lot. In the end, Komarov went to work as a repairman for his father on the railroad. Vasily spent all his earnings on drinks and snacks, but there was often not enough money, and then Komarov stole from his neighbors. The vagabond's ways. Komarov's heavy drinking stopped due to his conscription into the army, where he joined at the age of 20. Returning to Vitebsk for years later, Vasily decided to start a family and soon married a fellow villager. Komarov transferred the model of family relations of his parents to his family. He and his wife, who turned out to be terribly jealous, often drank, swore and fought. Nevertheless, their life cannot be called dull, and the couple traveled a lot around the Russian Empire, and alcohol did not let them get bored. However, money was needed for drinks and snacks, and the head of the family had to go to work at a military warehouse. But the earnings were not enough, and then Vasily decided on a scam. He sold a batch of dried apples and some other provisions to the left, after which he ended up in the dock. After serving about a year, he decided to start life from scratch. Having once again abandoned his jealous wife, Komarov moved to Riga, about which he had heard many good things from the stories of the prisoners. And one day, after visiting his native Vitebsk, Vasily found out that his wife, who had been left without means of livelihood, had cheated on him, poisoned herself, and died. First blood. Vasily did not grieve for long, and returning to Riga, remarried. His new life partner was a Polish widow with 2 children. She was easygoing and not a drinker, and Komarov, accustomed to a different model of family relations, often beat his wife and her children with the reins. His wife suffered beatings, as Komarov still provided for the family. Moreover, she clung to her wayward husband so tightly that over time she became an accomplice to his cruel crimes. In 1915, Komarov's family moved to the Volga region, fleeing from the German troops approaching Riga. With the beginning of the revolution, Vasily sided with the Reds. The prison term contributed a lot to the image of the oppressed proletarian. Komarov successfully exposed himself as an innocent victim of the Tsarist regime, but no one went into details of his biography at that time of troubles. Vasily himself mastered the basics of literacy and began to actively fight the counter-revolution, eventually rising to platoon commander. Komarov personally participated in the executions, starting with the shooting of a white officer. At that moment, Vasily made a big discovery for himself. He suddenly realized that he liked killing. Thank you all for watching. It was a story about Vasily Komarov, a maniac from the USSR. If you want to continue, write about it in the comments.